your burden, I'm not your burden. We live in the same bed, but there's no curtains to hide the hurting. But that's my version of a day in the life of sugar and spice, the lows and the highs, the live in denial, frozen in time. We wonder why we cruise every time. All right, I got a message that nobody could hear me. I've been talking for.
Now we can hear you.
Oh
Good
my god! Oh my god! I've been talking for 12 minutes.
Yes, I was putting it in the chat, but we can hear you now.
Oh my gosh! And so as soon as the live started, I was having technical difficulties, and I didn't know that the system completely disconnected my mic, and so I apologize. So I guess I'll just start over again. I hope people didn't jump off, but you'll have the recording. I'll edit out the beginning 12 minutes. So let me start all over again. Welcome, Keisha. I think I have Medea. So Keisha, I'm gonna remove you from the stage until I get started, and then I'll bring you back.
Okie doke.
If I can figure out how to do that. All right. So take 2. And I hope everybody can hear me now. So I was going in. So anyway, let me start from the beginning. Greetings. Welcome to Soul Healing, the podcast. I thank you for joining me live this morning. I apologize again for the technical difficulties. I did not know that I was having issues with my mic. And so today's episode, very powerful, the soul wound of Misogynoir. And we're calling Black men and Black women into awareness, healing, and repair. And so this is not going to be a conversation of male bashing or, bashing Black men, bashing Black women. This is a conversation just of awareness, of openness, speaking to the more deeper inherent roots of misogynoir and how it shows up in our everyday lives, how it shows up in our relationships, and how we deal with it more so on a surface level, and we don't really talk a lot about the roots. And so today I want to talk about the roots, the historical roots, the generational roots, the intergenerational roots, the effect that religion and patriarchy and capitalism and all of the systems that control and navigate our lives, and the effect that has on how we show up in partnership, how we show up in our interpersonal relationships, and how a lot of those stereotypes and those views have condemned and dehumanized and continue to put Black women in positions of always having to prove our worthiness, always having to prove that we are deserving of care and consideration and softness. And so we'll get into all of that. So I just want to welcome you again. This podcast is sponsored by Journey Healing Institute. And Journey Healing Institute is a nonprofit that is dedicated to creating healing-centered educational programs and resources that address the healing needs of Black folk, Black women in particular, to help us heal from the effects of historical and intergenerational trauma so that we can awaken and be in a place of radical joy, healing, and empowerment. Because, of course, when Black women heal, we heal everyone connected to us, the babies, the men, the community, the families. And so that's why we center Black women in a lot of our work. However, in this space, we will have those deep conversations where we're trying to get to the root of healing. We don't want to just go through, go talk about it at a surface level and then just leave it at that. We want to get down to the root. And this conversation is going to be about getting to the root of misogynoir, what it is, how it affects us, and what are some things that we can begin to really consciously start unpacking in the way that we, Black women, feel about Black men, and Black men feel about Black women. And a lot of it is rooted
and a lot of lies, a lot of deceit, a lot of deception, a lot of, again, stereotypes where we don't give, especially Black women are not given grace or a clear understanding of how historical and intergenerational trauma affects our love partnerships. It affects our relationships with our children. It affects the way that we show up at work, and et cetera, et cetera. So we'll get into all of that. And so I am Dr. Kimberly J. I will be your host. I also have with me a couple of guests. I'm just checking to see if one of my guests is joining back. I also have a couple of guests with me today to help me unpack this topic. And so before we begin, I want to give you a clear definition of misogynoir, because it is a fairly, I don't want to say new. I think the terminology has been around maybe about 10 years or so, but it's a term that was coined by scholar Moya Bailey. And she uses this term to describe the specific hatred, contempt, and prejudice directed at Black women. A unique intersection. It's a unique intersection, and I would say compounding, of racism and misogyny that Black women experience in ways that are distinct from both white women and Black men. And so Moya Bailey describes misogynoir as the particular brand of anti-Black misogyny that Black women face, especially in media, popular culture, where racism and sexism combine to create specific forms of dehumanization. Misogynoir is not just misogyny. It is racialized misogyny. It is when anti-Blackness and sexism collide and Black women become the target. It shows up most profoundly in stereotypes, in the way society views us, and in the way our own Black men and sons view us, and in the ways that we have internalized it and begin to view ourselves as angry, unlovable, unworthy, hypersexual, undesirable. And so after generations and generations and generations of you being viewed as all of those things, you begin to internalize that, right? You begin to play the part. And so that is why when I talk about, or when I think about misogynoir, I think about it and I look at it as a deep, deep soul wounding that is inherited, and it needs to be addressed. And when I mean inherited, it is something that has been passed from generation to generation to generation. And be clear, didn't just start with enslavement. You know, a lot of people think that the dynamics between Black male and female relationships became, of course, exacerbated. The separation within slavery, within the system, within after the post-enslavement period, and with the child welfare laws and the social service laws and all of those things. So yes, those continue to draw the wedge, continue to exacerbate. However, it just didn't start during the period of enslavement. And so even if we go back to religious indoctrination, which there was religious indoctrination and hierarchy on the continent and on the continent of Africa and with here within in the Americas, that put women again in this sub-servitude, substandard positionality. And so I don't think that within current times we've seen Black women or women period being elevated above any social positioning of male, which speaks to patriarchy. And so I want to frame misogynoir not just as a social issue again, but as a soul wound. And then when I say a soul wound, that again makes it generational. It makes it sometimes not conscious that you are feeling this particular way, that you're experiencing this thing. So it shows up in how a man views his mother, how a boy, a son views his mother, how a son or a man sees his mother being treated or not treated at all. If there isn't a man in the household, or the boys did not see their mother in partnership, or if the boys saw their mother in very abusive partnerships. So what was being modeled in that house begins to shape and inform their views of Black women. What was never healed, what was never addressed. And so these are the things, when I say soul wounds, that are inherited, and they continue. And they continue. You will find some men who have vowed to be better fathers and better partners, but there's still there is no rule book, right? There's no rule book. And because of a lot of the historical trauma that we have been through as a collective, and when I talk about historical trauma, I'm talking about it from a collective standpoint. We are a group of people who have been oppressed, who have been have dealt with systemic oppression for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And so that is in the policy, that is in the government, that is in the rules, that is in our relationships. And so that's a background noise that we always have to contend with, that is always circulating within our systems. And we want to ignore it. We don't want to look at it. We want to we tend to, as a collective, just focus on survival. I just want to get mine. I just want to go to school and so make my money. And then we find that we make the money, we buy the things, we got the cars, we got the material stuff, and we still don't have successful relationships or have a good understanding of the pain and the trauma that we continue to reinscribe on the next generation, the next generation, and the next generation. And so when a young Black boy grows up watching his mother do all the things, be the superwoman, be not supported, get all the stuff done, pay all the bills, make sure that this is taken care of, make sure that's taken care of, blah, 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 blah. That within him, he believes that the role of the Black woman is to be that. Is that my mama is the superwoman. Like my mama, and it dehumanizes her. It doesn't elevate her. It's saying you're not worthy of care because you care for everybody else. You don't need no care because we never demonstrated to them that we needed care. We never demonstrated to them that we needed care. And so they grow up thinking that Black women don't need care. They don't need consideration. They got it figured out. They're going to survive. They're going to make it happen. They're going to make it do what it do. And then you have on the flip side, if you have young Black men who grow up with their mothers being very aggressive, very aggressive, very angry, very protective, because they don't have a partner. And if they're growing up, let's say you grow up in a bad neighborhood or you're growing up in poverty, that woman, she got to be that man. And so then there is this resentment that young boys grow up with and saying, okay, my mama emasculated me, or my mama did this, or my mama, She was rough. She was tough. She, she was mean. She was, all of these things, and not even thinking about or putting into perspective that she didn't have a choice. And that being in that heightened state all the time, it affects your central nervous system. You do become angry. You do become aggressive. And so, but there's a root cause. There's a reason for it that we don't unpack or look at or even have grace for. And so I'm going to pause because I do want to bring my guests to the stage. I have Miss Keisha White, who I want to add to the stage.
Good morning, Dr. Kimberly J.
Good morning. Good morning. I have Medea. She said she's in the live, but I want her to come in the studio. If she could come in the studio. So Keisha, welcome. Thank you for joining. I want to turn it over to you just briefly to just give your thoughts or reflections on this topic, but start by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, that's a good one. So first of all, I'm a human being. So meaning a lot of these things, they bring up human emotions. Even the topic can make you feel, just particular emotions where you don't know that you want to talk about it. It's a real thing, but even to think about it, I can feel it in my sacral chakra. Like, just all of these emotions behind it. And that just goes to show you the power of words, because once you name it, now you're dealing with it.
Now you have to deal with it. Absolutely.
And so when you initially, presented this topic, I said, okay, am I in a place where I can give voice to this and be neutral? Can I speak of experiences without bringing into, of course, a very emotional packed topic? Yeah. And then several things happened to me this week, and I said, oh, I'm 100% in. Yeah. So, yeah.
And I think I said that earlier when I was muted, when my mic wasn't working. But the reason that I call Black women into this conversation is because the effects of the harm of not being chosen, of not being treated, of having your own men cling to stereotypes about you that are not true, that are based in survival mode, which you've had to be in, is that we won't talk about it, right? Because it is painful. We won't talk about it. We won't name it. We get angry. We'll call it out. Damn, Black men really don't like us. Man, here they go again, blah, 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 blah. We'll call it out in jest. But rarely do we sit with the uncomfortable, just as you name, sit in that sacral, in that womb space, sit in it and say, damn, that shit hurts.
Because if you aren't an advocate for me, then who is?
That part. If you're not now see, you got me getting ready to cry.
See, because that's how I felt. If you are not an advocate for me, then who is? Because I'm always an advocate for my Black man. My father was a Black man. My brother is a Black man. My uncle, my grandson, my cousins, they're Black men, and I love them. And there's never a space for me to want to cause harm.
Yes.
Not on social media, but I see it all the time with us.
Yes.
And it is hurtful, and it causes further dissension.
It does. In separation.
Yes.
Because you can only take so much. Right?
Yes.
And so that's why we are seeing this, you can call it an epidemic
Yeah.
of Black women choosing, not because they can't find no man, that kind of energy, but literally choosing to be unpartnered, for those reasons. Because if you can't choose me, if you can't care for me, if you can't be soft with me, if you
Yes.
want to always compare me to other women
Absolutely.
because you don't understand my story, or no, you're choosing not to understand my story, but it ain't even about, it's most of the time it's about their mothers. It's about their mothers. And again, growing up in households with really strong, domineering women, because they had to be, because they were trying to protect you. And then you grow up into manhood and you say, Black women are angry and mean and aggressive and be lazy, intellectually and spiritually lazy, where you won't unpack that shit, where you won't unpack it, where you won't unpack how seeing your mother struggle, how that hurt you. Because boys are very sensitive. And I'm sure for a lot of men that hurt them to the core to see the difficulties that their mothers went through. And then they go and reinscribe that same harm to someone else. And instead of unpacking the trauma and the harm that is within them, and saying that I would have loved to save my mother, but I couldn't save my mother. And not even trying to, or some men will take the other approach. I call them the Captain Save-A-Hole men, who will just go and, if they can't save you, if you're not the damsel in distress, or you're not down and out on your last, then they, so it's just a weird, because it makes Black women feel like damned if we do, damned if we don't. If we do appear or present as needing support, as needing care, as needing, then, well, I ain't trying to take care. No, I ain't trying to do this. I ain't trying. She ain't got this. And then in a phase of life where you have all the things, you got the material things, you got this, you got that. And I'm speaking from my own experience, because I've been on both ends of the spectrum. Yes. Where, I had all the things, the BMW, the car, they come, the big house, BMW, they come in your crib and look around like, oh, this you? Oh, this you? Oh, this nice. And then you don't hear from niggas no more. You know what I'm saying? And like, then one person, he came to the crib, he was one of them, oh, this is nice. Then like 3 months later, he marrying some white woman, like 20 years younger than him, like have nothing established. I think she was like 20. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, this woman doing? Like, so.
Because that's what he needed.
It's like, it's damned if we do, damned if we don't. You know what I'm saying? But again, getting to the root, it really is rooted in them not understanding themselves.
Yes.
And it isn't even them not understanding themselves. It's them not even doing the work to find out who the fuck they are. It is this love affair that they have with patriarchy, the love affair that they have with being dominant and being domineering, but don't want to do the work to be that. Because I'll submit to you. If you taking care of me, if you loving me, if you supporting me, I have no problem. Most Black women have no problem. Like, yes, king, you my king. I bow down to you. But you can't want that status, but not do the work to support your queen, so she doesn't have to worry about survival.
Yes.
So she doesn't have to worry about how the bills gonna get paid, how this gonna get done, how this gonna get done, how this gonna get done. So she and take care of the kids and do that. So she doesn't have to wear all of the goddamn hats. And so I want to pause and invite Medea to the stage. Good morning, Medea.
Peace, peace. Good morning. Happy Sunday and happy 222 vibration.
All right, it sure is.
Yep. Much love, y'all. Much
Much
love.
love. And so, give me what are some of your thoughts about um what we're talking about? Again, building on misogynoir as being a soul wound. And what I mean again by soul wound is it gets inherited and passed from generation to generation, and thinking about what we can start having a conversation to interrupt it. There has to be an interruption. And again, the reason I want to interrupt it is because I believe in Black love. I do believe in Black love. I do believe that we can repair. We have to repair. We have to repair. And so,
Sure.
Medea.
Well, I'm a product of Black love for many, many, many generations. From my own lifetime, my parents were married for 37 years. That's when my father passed because my parents got married the year I was born. But my father met my mother when she was 15, waited till she was 22, befriended my grandparents, right? So when I first came across this concept, and I do have it pulled up so, I could keep coming back to it, misogynoir, this deep and ingrained, embedded anti-Black racism and prejudice toward Black women, it's a serious wound, and I feel, so I'm a feeler when I talk, right? Because it comes through my spirit, it comes through my soul. Even being an academic and an educator for over 20 something years, I don't rely on proof and facts. I go off of feelings and life experience. That's what I mean by feelings. So this term was born out of, when I feel it and sit with it and think about it, the rape of our people, the rape of men, women, and children in front of one another. Because how do you overpower a people? You have to not only see, the act of rape is going to separate them from their soul, their sound mind.
Yes.
And so when I think about this term, that's what really continues to show up on the way it's like, you were describing how, it's men who may, because it deals with this thing around men having I don't even know how to call it, thing about, or distrust, dislike, dis-ease, whatever, toward Black women. Yet simultaneously, when I hear that, even the young lady who coined this term, as a woman, as a Black woman with a womb, and I must say this, I'm like, how the hell we give birth to this? Like, what is this level of rage? It would manifest itself as my creation, my son, my men, my husband, my partner, my whatever, turn on me in such a way. And so for me, that speaks to the wound.
Yes.
The wound in our fascia, right?
Yeah.
The fascia is in between the muscle and the bone, that kind of where the ether runs, chakra system run through. What is in us? And so big up to the young lady, what's her name? Moya
Bailey.
Who created it. Yeah, and I get, it's no critique, but I feel like it's the tip of uncovering this deep-seated wound that is a product of melanated women, the source creation of the planet, I must say that, being abused, raped, and not just us, the men and the children as well.
Yes.
To fracture us. So your very life source, you turn around and you hate it. I had my ex-husband, his mother perpetuated misogynoir. He hated his mother. I didn't know it until like I got there, living with him and being with him and things of that nature. And then like how it was attempted to be projected on me. But one thing I'm clear about is because I was not subjected to that level of rage and hatred between family, mother and son, right? That was foreign to me. So I know that kind of, even though I did endure, it wasn't impacted by it, but I was able to move through it and literally walk away from that situation through my father's assistance, who was in the spirit realm at that time, ancestral realm, because I was like, we don't come from this. And I don't even, I love you, but I love me more. And I don't even have time to figure out who the hell you mad at and who she was mad at and why y'all keep doing this dance. Materially, it looks like everything's together. But behind closed doors, you all tearing each other down. So much so that he died as a result of that. I mean, this is my awareness of a result of that rage and hatred, that Messiah. He died from that as a very young man, not even 50. So
you named a couple of things that kind of reiterate what I was saying before, is this relationship. So when you think about collective spiritual, the relationship with the mother as creator, and having the child not honor, not revere, not respect that of which created them. And for whatever, lots of reasons. As I said, we as a collective people have been through so much. So it's a lot of reasons. But when you get to the core of it, it is that, like Tupac said, a race of babies that hate the ladies that make the babies. So there's something very psychologically amiss.
Inverted,
exactly. And it speaks volumes to how these men are feeling about themselves. That it's almost like, why did you create me? I hate you. I hate this creation. And then to your point is thinking about the women. And so this is why we have Journey Healing Institute that centers the healing of women, because why? We make the babies, right? And
not
so,
even just babies, we make, not to cut you off, pardon.
No, go ahead.
But one thing about women, and I'm specifically speaking to women who were born with women. I won't use these different acronyms and whatnot like that. But our ability as women to create is not just about creating humans. We have birthed many things. So hence even this wound we're talking about, because the wound is a dis-ease. It's not an indictment. It's not bad or wrong, but it is the disease, the imbalance within our collective familial body. Masculine and feminine work hand in hand.
Yes.
Electromagnetic, hand in hand. One can't be without the other. Even though one does bring forth, because that is its purpose and how it was made.
Yes.
So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yes. I love that. So yeah, so you brought up the point with the mother, and you can say the mother wound, but something else that you touched upon is that the life force. So as a result, like I said, we've been seeing over the last decade or so where Black women are separating, and they're separating from Black men, and they're doing their healing work. They're finding their peace, they're, doing their root work, and they're trying to heal the wounds of that historical trauma. And you're seeing a lot of Black men separated, because you got to think about the life force. So being separated from that life force, and they're not doing well. They're not doing well unpartnered. Especially a lot of older men who are just kind of out
The men,
here.
they're dying. I
They're
bear
dying.
witness. They're dying.
They're dying.
Dying and drifting.
And drifting. Thank you for naming that, Keisha. Dying and drifting. And so this is their fuck around and find out moments of not having access to that of which gave birth to them. To that of which is their life force.
Ashe.
And so for us, for so many Black women who care, like Keisha, your whole energy in terms of loving unapologetically. That's where I'm at with it. Unapologetically. Because everybody can say, oh, well, you can get another. No, I want a Black man, point blank, period. But being in this position, a very precarious position of not having my life force extracted from me, and not having reciprocal energy, presence, care, I choose to be unpartnered. However, I would love to be partnered with someone who can put in that reciprocal energy. But so many, and I'm not trying to generalize, and I'm not bashing at all. So many men are refusing to do the deeper level work because they can't give to me what they don't have for themselves. And so when they're living these very surface lives, rooted in materialism, rooted in disconnection, rooted in not wanting to see my wounds, not wanting to heal my mother wounds, not wanting to heal my father wounds, not wanting, I just want to live kind of energy, while they continue to throw up on everybody.
And defecate.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is for, in my opinion, it is for Black women to cry uncle. This is what this conversation is about. Y'all get y'all shit together. We're not taking this anymore. And not just from an angry, I'm just going to be by myself, I'm just going to be independent, from a perspective of vulnerability that says, I love you.
Yes.
This is tough love. I love you. Therefore, I'm going to tell you about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's Maya and segment. It's Maya and segment.
That's right.
It's stern.
It's stern.
It's very, very stern. Like, yes, I will acknowledge. It's something you said about the choice to be unpartnered. I never thought about it like that. But yeah, I mean, I've been in that space ever since, even before my ex-husband divorced me, like unpartnered. But this my in segment level of love. This Pele, goddess out of Hawaii, level of love. This Kali Ma.
Yes.
Level of love. Because it may feel harsh when you don't want to be in your work. Yet because I love you, this is necessary. And the one thing, it goes back to the book that's going to be for next month in the soul. So I'm doing a plug for the Soul to Soul book club, The Art of Intimacy.
Yes.
There is a group of men, and they're primarily, it's open to anybody, but they're primarily white men and younger men too. It's called the Sacred Sons. Sister Marnie is involved in it. Me and Sister Drew, were talking about it. But we were talking about this conversation too. So even in this harsh love with the men, because they are floating and drifting and Some of them are dying and losing their minds, literally. The art of intimacy with yourself.
That part.
See, that's the distinction even in this work with women's work, but I feel like we are wired in a different way, because some women don't want to do, a lot of women don't want to do their work. And this whole thing about being intimate and vulnerable with your own self.
Yeah.
These types of texts and spaces where I brought up the sacred son spaces are spaces that Black men need, that there aren't a lot of, that I know of, but that we can't do that work with them. We can meet them at the end of the cycle, right? After they go through their dark night of the soul, after they do their 40 days and 40 nights, right? But we can't literally be with you as you do the work. So I just wanted to put, but the Art of Intimacy book, and maybe it's another book by her husband or late husband.
Yes.
Of Water and Spirit.
Of Water and Spirit.
That's a book written by a man, Maladome, right?
Yes.
Maladome. But it speaks to the level of the masculine mind and psyche, restructuring, trusting, and recentering back to, so it could see itself.
So it can see itself, and so it can see spirit. So it can see its mother, their mother,
which is itself.
Which is itself.
And it's a two-way communication.
It's a two-way communication. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so building on these practices of awareness and care. Awareness is huge because, again, as a collective Black community, we don't like to talk about the hard stuff, the thing. We don't air our dirty laundry, or, all the family secrets and all the, so first of all, it has to be this hyper awareness to our histories, to what really happened within our family structures and our family dynamics. What really was mama going through, where she looked like she had it all together, but she wasn't. She didn't have it all together. How was she masking her pain? Having these deep conversations with our mothers and their mothers, if their mothers are alive, so we can, again, begin to humanize our experience, not have this experience of we were strong and resilient and my mama pushed through everything. But you're unhealthy and you're unpartnered and you don't know who the fuck you are.
Ashe.
And so there's something deeper there. And so having the courage to dig deeper. I remember having a conversation. Go ahead.
And not even just dig. So thank you. And thank you for allowing me to interject here. Just pick up where you're leading is down. Those stories. This is why family genealogy and being with self and spirit is very important, because some people have passed on and you won't get the exact story. But even knowing where your people are from, you can understand, because in the 1800s, I mean, I can honestly say up until the last 20 to 30 years, most of my family had mothers and fathers who were happy, husbands and wives, or even if they was divorced, right? But when you go back to the 1800s and from this space, from the way we was taught history about who we are as Black people here in America, what caused, it's another book called Paper Bridge about these love letters. This woman, her name is Dr. Alderman, in Baltimore, her grandfather writing her grandmother, because he had to work. And he worked between Louisa, West Virginia, and Baltimore. But even the generation before that, what caused, like, getting to those stories, like, even for a person just to look it up, why did Black men and Black women choose to separate? It goes back to post-traumatic slave syndrome too, on the whole thing with the mother and the sons, right?
Yes.
Why did the mother have to assume, even the same reason on the men having to leave to go find work and be separate from their wives and their children? I feel like we get that story in a very historical, material, abstract kind of way, and not looking at the heartbreak. Me and Debbie has another book around here around emancipation, about these love letters. Like, people grieved for centuries about being a part.
Yes.
From the, so it was something, a conscious choice between the men and the women in the family to have to separate from material at that space and time. Like, now we in a different time, but I wanted to put that out there because, and then, you know, people got bitter hearts, hard, and people died. Who knows? So many things occurred,
but
to have the woman to separate.
And I thank you for putting that out there, because those are the roots of the generational trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And so that heartbreak that you talk about, when that heartbreak is not addressed and healed in that lifetime, in that unit, and during that time, it transfers
to the children. Yes.
It transfers to the children, and it transfers to their children and their children.
Yep.
And so we unconsciously, we're living out these heartbreaks and these dramas and these traumas, and we won't even be still enough or curious enough to unpack it. You know, to unpack it, to get to the root.
It's something my father said before he passed, because my father's parents weren't married, and he was raised by family, you know, who married into my family, but then she went on to marry other, but she kept my father connected to my people. But shortly before my dad died, he told me, he was telling me I was right about something I said to him that was kind of flippant, but he was like, you know, you're right about that, because you don't want to wait to, and he was in his late 60s, you this age, to start forgiving people who did the best they could with what they had and how they knew to do it. It's not a rule book, Medea. Like, but you know, and by this point he had a mild stroke, maybe a few years before that. But he told me, he was so clear. He was like, you know, you be on to something. Sometimes I don't like your delivery, but you don't want to wait till you 60 something. Forgiving people who've been long gone, and outside of them just being out of their body and transitioned, you don't know why those people had to make the decisions that impacted you in such a profound way. And it turns into anger, and it turns into bitterness.
Yes.
You know, so
avoidance.
Avoidance.
I find that so much with Black men. They just avoid in any deep conversation, any deep probing, and it's all spiritual. When we go deep, we're talking about within your psyche, within your spirit, within your soul. What's in there?
Yes. You know, even in our studies in Song of Spirit, there is a spiritual dimension to every relationship. And that makes you take pause. It makes you think, this is so much bigger than what we're looking at on the surface.
And so shameless plug. So I started this series on TikTok that's called Soul to Soul Confessions. And this is where I bear a lot of my past life experiences and past life experiences only as it connects and relates to some of the healing work that I've had to do for myself within this lifetime, and following how these generational patterns that don't get healed end up repeating themselves. And it keeps repeating itself until someone within that bloodline, within that family line, acknowledges the harm and then works to course correct it, to do something differently. And so when you talk about the spiritual dimension of every relationship, with every relationship, you have that. You have your ancestors, you have your karmic debts, you have your guides, and you have these agreements that you come into this relationship with to work through to heal, to empower. And so all of it means a thing. All of it means a thing. And because we are in a society that has completely severed for the vast majority of us, right? Like this conversation the three of us are having is because we vibrate on a different frequency, but everybody don't vibrate on that frequency, bringing spirit into relational conversations, right? But that's the norm. That's who we are. So how can you not? You know, and I would argue that if more the only way that we're going to get into divine partnerships and divine union and divine healing and empowerment and divine love is to bring that dynamic of spirit back into our relationship. So it's not just about romanticizing. It's not just about whining and dining. It's not just about sex. It ain't just about having a good time. It ain't just about the woman holding your baggage for you, giving
It's
you
about
some
right relationship.
You know?
Right relationship, which
right
is
relationship.
My
And because we don't know how to, some of us didn't come from. I admire that, Medea. You came from love. Some of us didn't come from that. And so we don't have a understanding, not even a demonstration of what that looked like.
What's coming through my body is that it was an experience based on so many layers of heartbreak.
Mm-hmm.
Of heartbreak.
Yes.
That has been the I don't want to call it a curse. Because when you think about energy and the coming together of things and even creation itself, that's a powerful will and intention of the energy that is being brought forth. But I would concur, like, yeah, it wasn't expressed. People didn't express love. That was looked at as weakness or soft, or something was going to get you. The boogeyman was going to jump out the bushes, and you was going to be let down.
That's right.
Yeah.
So everything was iced out.
Yeah, and not having a demonstration of it, in a way, it gives you a blank slate to say, now I get to create what that looks like for me in union with spirit. So this is why you bring spirit, because you may not have that physical material demonstration of divine partnerships. We grew up in a time when people didn't get divorced. They just went and they separate rooms and they lived out their lives in marriage, but they never kissed. They never had sex anymore. They just like, you do your thing, you do. I don't want that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not divine partnership. But society says, no, you stay with your husband. You stay. And so that's what was demonstrated a lot within Black family units and dynamics, is that your joy, your happiness, your peace, like, that's irrelevant. You stay.
Or secondary.
Right. That was secondary,
Yes.
And so us being able to create with centering spirit, centering what's divine, centering what's true and living for us. And so it, not only do we need to, in my opinion, acknowledge the harm, but we also, and at the same time, create the pathways. And when I say create, because for so many Black folk, we don't have the blueprint or a demonstration of it. So we get to create what that divine union and partnership would be like and look like, based upon, as you said, Medea, principles of Ma'at.
And that's why people got to know their family. You have to look at, we have to start studying, even if we don't know our family, where are your people from?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, literally, I'm talking about this landmass. What town were they born in? What hospital? Go there. Be on the land, because that's the transmission from spirit and or the divine, is for because we're not separate. We are deeply tethered to these locales and places, and then start to look up the record and and be with it, not to have some finding our roots straight up facts. Like half of that's conjecture anyway, but being with it within your own, because we have the tools within ourselves.
That's
I
right.
do wholeheartedly know this. Now, whether people want to use them or not, well, that's none of my business. But we have it within ourselves to get back to our source. Yet, my whole thing with people, you going, like my daddy said, you don't want to wait to this age to start doing your work, even though he did. But I know that that's something that supported him in releasing his body the way he went out. You know what I'm saying? With he ain't leaving no baggage and no regrets no more. You know, based on my understanding of that, if you will. I don't know at all, but we have, like you said, it's a blank slate for the self, even if we don't have the demonstration. Because one thing that's real is what we've been bombarded with about how it's supposed to look like and sound like, according to something that is a fallacy anyway, or really don't relate to who and what we are.
Mm-hmm.
As the person, as the particular family, as the particular region and location you come from, that's work that the individual must do.
Yeah.
Can't nobody else get that to you, and don't nobody got to agree with it. Because when I was listening to Sister Miss Blue the Oracle this morning, and she said something about this is I'm a paraphrase. She was like, being anxious is being so far ahead in the future, and being depressed is you caught up back in the past. When you present, you are in balance where you can send there's energies that's it's that whole shine shay shonen, where you can move across, but you in the present right now.
Yeah.
Right, we in the present right now, and we vibrating at such a vibration. When you keep your vibration not positive, like this toxic positive, but so high in the blank slate, the infinite possibilities,
Yes.
that all that negative or all that what if, shoulda, coulda, woulda, holding on, that shit will just fall away. You won't even be in that mind frame anymore, because you're present on yourself right now, each and every moment. And the things that come, you're able to look at them, learn from them, go through your emotions about them, and then you're like, oh, okay, but you stay present.
Yeah. And I would add, and you seek.
You see.
So many people are so comfortable in their discomfort, in their trauma, in their pain, in their avoidance. They don't seek. They
That's their
don't seek.
identity. People identify with that. And cosmically, currently, where we are, I mean, look at what just happened last week. You had the new moon, the fire eclipse, Ramadan, Mardi Gras, Lent, 24-48 period. Was like, I mean, so we in the shift, right? We coming through in ancient, I mean, Wayne Chandler talks about this in Ancient Future too, the 2000 to 26,500 epic shift of the whole cosmos, not just planet Earth. Planet Earth is part of this thing. But when people continue to identify with their trauma, with pain body, all, I'm clear. I know a lot of times I say stuff is none of my business, shit is none of my business, but I'm aware, and I am releasing attachments about wanting to save people or be a service to people that don't want it, and acknowledging that, let me keep my vibrational high, bear witness. I shared that conversation that I saw yesterday about my neighbors across the street, people in a identity with the pain body. Yet the one individual, the man, was in pain, but he wanted to move on, and the young woman didn't. But then just showing up, I did interrupt it, and I made them stop for the children. And the man cried, girl. The young man cried in front of me. And I said, it's okay. But you got to get yourself together, brother. Like, this is Thank you, Miss. Thank you. I'm not trying to be in y'all business, but you got to let this be right here and
The
focus on
babies.
yourself so you can focus on these children.
And that's why these conversations, oh, that just made me so emotional.
Yeah.
That's why these conversations are so necessary, because I get it. We have all gone through, been through, inherited a great deal of harm, a great deal of trauma. Get it. But when do you draw the line? When do you stop and want to interrupt it and heal it so that you can create new spaces, new ways of being in a relationship with for your children, for your grandchildren, for your great grandchildren? The one thing, generational pattern that I broke was deciding not to be in abusive relationships. My children's father was very emotionally and mentally abusive. And I decided I'm going to raise my two sons alone. Like, I'm not going to be in this relationship. And granted, I had a bit of privilege because I had, a good job and money, and so I could do that without worried about, financial security or stability. It wasn't like he would have taken care of me anyway, but yet and still I decided that I'm going to take this single parenting journey alone. And in doing that, I was able to raise two Black men. Now I'm the mother of men. So that's why I ain't never gonna bash no Black men. Because I'm the mother of two Black men who, because I had the courage and the wherewithal to completely sever and separate from that energy, they are not abusive. They are not demonizing. They respect women. They love Black women. My oldest Christian told me, he was like, "Ma, I don't hang out with no dudes." He was like, "All I hang around," this was both of my sons throughout college, they said all they hang around is Black women. I said, "Really?" They said, "Yeah." I said, well, how? Why? And they was like, "Because they gonna make sure we fed. They take care of us. They pet us up. They protect us. They loving. They kind. Like they love them some Black women."
Beautiful.
My two sons, and y'all know Christian and Kevin, they both really attractive. They could be womanizing, and never in they whole I never have drama with 3-4 girls ringing the doorbell and where's Kevin and calling and where's Chris. I never had drama with them and women. Never, ever, ever. And so being able to get that toxic element out of my space, out of my energy, and have the courage to raise these boys on my own in a house of love, and not a house, because a lot of Black women are guilty of this too. I gotta find my kids a daddy. I gotta find my kids a daddy. And so I didn't do any of that. I just allowed it to be, and I did not allow it to shame or denigrate me. And being, it was some tough moments of being a single mother, please believe, but I didn't internalize it as much as what I see other Black women do. I would be a lie if I say I didn't internalize it a little bit, going to sporting events and seeing the mothers and the fathers together, and the fathers supporting the kids, and I didn't have that for my sons, but they had me. And so we also have to reframe, and Medea, I think you speak to this in terms of what, as Black folk, what does divine family look like? It does it require just to have a man in the household, just to have a man in the household? And so how do you balance out that love, and what does family really look like? Extended family, because that's another thing that we don't talk about or have gotten away from, we've gotten away from it as a collective, is extended family and the village helping you to raise your children.
The village helping you to re-raise yourself.
That part.
That's
Yes.
what I'm learning. I'm in an ancestral place in town. Y'all know that county where my people historically have been. We on the books going back to the 1700s. And I'm gonna keep looking this state that I was born in this state. We, on the other side, we back in the book, same thing. 17 before America was America. And when I think about the elders in my family, which, all of the elders I grew up with have all transitioned from my parents to my grandparents. I have my mom's two sisters that's still present, a couple older cousins, and my godmother. But this extended family thing looks not so much vastly different, but I didn't expect the support to show up in the way it showed up. So these are my coworkers. Most of the people I'm around are my moms, or really younger than my mom, right? But they're in their late 60s and 70s. A lot of them, not most of them, are white people, right? And now I'm from Jersey, Philly, so I grew up with the whole like white folks and black folks being together, blue collar, whatever, right? Yeah, but I'm in the South, and it's different. And it's different because based on what society said, it's supposed to look and sound like this, da 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 da. But I'm minding myself walking down, and people like, oh, you need a ride? Oh, your car broke down? Oh, what you need? Oh, here, let me give you this, let me give you that. Right now, I got a whole situation going on. My pipes and my elder neighbors, now they black folks, they like, oh no, just come to our spigot for however long you need till you get that fit. I'm like, what? No questions asked, don't want nothing from you. So what that continues to show me is I'm up to something. I've surrendered an old narrative about asking for help or being open to receive, or it got to come in some kind of financial contribution when it get just people being there for you, giving their time and energy, then doubling back. Like, you good? We just checking in on you. Okay, you got it. Good. You always so grateful, Mindy. And I am. But this is my family. Even though, yes, I have my original family, meaning my sisters, my cousins, my aunts, my grandma, children family, right? And then I have my extended family. I grew up with my mom's girlfriends and my dad's people and this, that, and the third. And then I have college family. But I'm in the world right now where my family, just like the three of us here on this call,
that's right.
My family continues to reveal itself because it mirrors what I am embodying.
Yes.
That's family. That's your kin. That's your folk. That's your people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you. And so I want to wrap us up. This has been a very needed and very healthy conversation, and it's only the tip of the iceberg. But I want to close out with just reflections from each of you in terms of where do we go from here? Like, what are some of the things, recommendations, or ways of being? I don't like recommendations. Ways of being that we can begin to really unpack and not just the negative stereotypes, the projections that so many Black women have internalized, but yet and still continue to experience again at the hands of those Black men who they love most. I'll start by this small reflection. And I think this gets to what Medea is saying, is being a Black woman, the mother of creation, the foundation. We have to remember that shit. And we have to empower ourselves to always and then always speak up for ourselves, to speak the truth, to acknowledge, to call our men to account, to not let it slide. And so I'll share, I had this experience a few months ago with my grandson, who is 13 now. And he is in he in 8th grade, but he goes to Kenwood. He's in at the high school program. And so, 13, you kind of feeling yourself, you getting into girls and who you like, et cetera, et cetera. And so my daughter calls me and say, Ma, my grandbaby, he only like other girls. He only like white girls, Chinese girls. Like, he said he don't like black girls. I said, and what did you tell him? And she said, well, I mean, that's what he like or whatever. I said, no, baby. No, she said that. He said that. I said, did you ask him why? And she said, yeah. He said, because black girls are mean and they angry and they aggressive and I said, well, did you tell him why? Did you get to the root of that? Because not to say that that's not his experience. I'm not denying his lived experience. But did you go deeper and have those deeper conversations? And she's like, no, Ma, you could do that. You could do that. So I sure did. And I called him. I said, well, baby, young black girls, and speaking for myself, the oldest of 4 at the time, where I had to be responsible for getting my siblings in the house, be responsible for starting dinner, be responsible to make sure my siblings got their homework done, all that. I said, young black girls are tasked and responsible for so much. They become the second mothers in the house, sometimes the primary mothers in the house, depending upon the dynamic of the household. Black girls are not protected, so they have to fight boys. I had my first encounter when I was in 6th grade. I had a boy jump out the locker room while I was changing. I had to literally fight. Nobody protected me. None of the other boys protected me. So black girls have to learn how to protect themselves. Black girls have to learn how to fend for themselves. Black girls have to learn how to be a helpmate to their mothers and support their households and do cooking and do cleaning. And so when you don't interrogate and really dig deeper into the whys, and he's looking at his mom, and his mom is always fighting his battles, and he's looking at her as being hyper aggressive, and so that's when these ideas begin to form in black boys about black women being masculine, or black women being aggressive, black women being mean, black women being angry, but they don't have the counter narrative that explains what's really going on. Like, I have to protect you. I have to be strong. Like, I have, and so without having that balance of that conversation. And so I think it's so important that we start doing this. We start calling out our black men when they want to talk about black women. They want to talk about, oh, you being a bit aggressive. No, you're just used to dating white women, who won't speak their truth. I'm just speaking my truth. It's not about aggression. I'm speaking what is true for me. And it's coming across as aggression for you because you got some unhealed stuff with aggression, and so calling people out, and not in a way, again, that demonizes or shames, but for clarity, for insight. And so I had that conversation with my grandbaby, so he can look at both, like who you like. This ain't about, but at the same time, be clear that their lived experiences are a lot different. And that what white women, and on the flip side, they'll show you a mask of nicety and then have your ass arrested the minute that you say boo. So be clear. Be clear. And so that's my 2 cents.
No, but Kimberly, I agree with you. My experience this week, and again, I normally don't, these things don't even come across my feed. It was very interesting. Anyway, to get to the point, there's a difference between preference and bias. You can prefer something for your personal, but to be biased, well, that only adds to harm.
Mhm.
And I don't think that this is talked about enough, meaning this particular conversation, because some people don't even realize by them using social media in that way, or by them being in community at sporting events or things where we gather together and you say certain things that pushes that harm along.
Mhm.
And where do we stop and say, "Oh, wait. Again, if I'm not an advocate for a black woman, then who is?"
Then
As
who?
you're sitting here asking a black woman for her phone number, what
Mhm.
she does in her time, what she makes, but you can't police my
Want that
pockets.
good, good?
Yeah,
Mhm.
but you don't
Mhm.
get to police my pockets.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
also do not get to go in spaces and talk about me in such a way
Yes.
that if a woman does feel, I don't feel this, if a woman does feel the need to look for something outside of her race, and then talk about that as well.
Mhm.
But what she got from you, it wasn't flowers. It
Mhm.
wasn't compassion. It wasn't a tenderness. It
Yep.
wasn't a man to step in and say, "Ooh, you're working really hard. What can I do?"
Whew.
And ask me, because I can tell you, in this moment I need peace, or in this moment I need a hug.
Mhm.
My grandmother could tell me, you know what you need? You need a hug. You need to not carry the weight of the world on your shoulders.
That part.
Come here. Come get up in the bed with me.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
you can ask me. The ask. My grandson is 5. He
Mhm.
asks me, "What do you like?" And I
Mhm.
stopped and I said, "Oh, this is a testament to his beautiful mother." Because he asked if he does not know, so that we can connect, so that we can build. Like
Yeah.
how you said, this is a clean slate
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
create.
Yeah.
I want you as a black male to ask me. If
Yes.
you don't know, ask me.
To care enough. To care enough to
Yes,
just ask.
just ask me. It's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with you asking me, because you may hear something that heals you,
Mhm. Mhm.
because you didn't know it was a thing.
Mhm.
And we don't have to be in relationship as that, but as human beings, we're trying to relate to each other.
That part.
And if a 5-year-old can ask me, and he can ask me about love, and he can ask me about my education, why can't we ask? Don't
Mhm.
assume. And then if I tell you something, let it integrate first before
Mhm.
you reject it.
Mhm. That part.
And what we cannot do is continue to post things that don't mean a thing.
Mhm.
Those things they're not really a thing. If you don't like something, then deal with the individual,
Mhm.
but don't make it a thing. It's
Mhm.
time to get away from that. You don't like something, deal with the individual who is causing this harm to you. But don't make it a thing.
Well, most times the individual causing the harm is them. So that's why they making it a thing, because it's avoidance. They don't want to go there.
It is avoidance, but it's harmful when you look in these threads and you see that it's your family who
Mhm.
is contributing to it. And you're wondering, you're like, but how? I thought. So now I have a question to ask, because I can do the work. I can ask you. I have no problems asking you, but I'm also ready for your answer.
Mhm.
Because where, like Medea says, where does that come from? And how can we look at that and get away from it? Because it is exhausting.
It is.
It is exhausting. I
Mhm.
decline social invitations because I am energetically exhausted of people who you say are energetically lazy.
Yep.
We distract, meaning us as a whole, distract ourselves with so much noise. But
Mhm.
when do we, like how you said, take a moment to have silence, to have space, to ask questions?
Mhm.
And
To
it's
have
not that
compassion.
long.
to have
Right.
compassion.
Compassion.
Energetically lazy and energetic vampires.
That part.
Yes. You don't
Which
get
is
to
what it
constantly
is.
take from me.
Right.
Mhm.
No, I say no. And if that makes me aggressive, then you're just being weak.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because that's a stereotype of the angry black woman
It is.
that the media perpetuated called the sapphire
Yep.
stereotype.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's enough of it.
Mhm.
And what other stories can we tell? What other things can we reimagine? When can we get back to love?
That part. That part. Thank you. And lastly, Medea, final thoughts.
Final thoughts and reflections. So when I read this title, Calling Black Men into Awareness, Healing, and Repair, when you initially talked about reflections, what came up, and I've shared this week, the whole thing around forgiveness.
Mm.
Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono. You know, it's a Polynesian, Hawaiian mantra. I apologize. Please forgive me. I love you and thank you. I apologize. Please forgive me. I love you and thank you. I apologize. Please forgive me. I love you and thank you. And I'm getting back into it. Something I did a lot, just to support myself and my relationship with my mother as she was, you know, living her journey the last year or so of her life, year and a half. But this forgiveness work, because to call someone into awareness, healing, and repair, it's a lot. It's audacious, especially when people are where they are.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so my final thoughts with this is this work, this call is necessary and is real. Yet it requires so much forgiveness, and not forgiveness like we get to be kumbaya walking down the street. Like, you know, I'm a devotee of Sekhmet. You know, my name is Medea Arlene Brooks, Titan Ascendant, sorceress, free woman of all waters. So let's get this balance thing together
Mhm.
so that we can all have the life we want and deserve and live our birthright. Yeah, at the
Mhm.
same time, like when I feel about, like, I know it's a part 2, 3, and 4 to this. I see that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the assertion with Ho'oponopono with the forgiveness work is my call to stand in forgiveness is that so black men are ready to forgive themselves.
That part.
And as they come into awareness, like Keisha, you was just sharing about, people just say stuff out the side of their neck just to be seen, or that's evident. Like a lot of times when I see foolishness like that, that's where that person is at anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Their pain body, they just saying it out loud because it's on social media and they can get some likes and views and stir conversations, all that kind of stuff. But it's like coming into awareness. Last week we had a room full of boys from kindergarten through 8th grade. For whatever reason, they was down there all ed, and I had to keep course correcting the children on, you not bad or wrong. Are you in awareness of your choice, like what you thinking, and then your actions, and then how you get where you at? Like those simple steps. Are you aware that you're here because of something you chose or didn't choose to do? Are you aware? It doesn't make you bad or wrong. I'm not writing you up, even though that's part of the job thing. I want you to start thinking, well, I don't know. I don't know will get you killed, honey.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
that avoidance piece.
Yep.
It'll take you out of here or have you live in something, and then you going to be there as a whole grown up talking about you don't know something because you don't want to face your own choices. And your choices don't have to be bad or wrong. Which one makes the most sense for you to receive what you want to receive?
Mhm.
So forgiveness is the main thing that's coming up for me. And then the holding space thing too, which is something I do struggle with. Like yesterday, I watched that stuff go down for a good hour and some change. I ain't want to go over there and be in a people business. But based on this young man's choice, I was like, you see your creation? Hey, stop it, y'all. Stop it. Stop. It's children right here.
Mm-hmm.
Stop. And y'all want to come on, stop.
Mm-hmm.
So that thing, like being brave enough to call something out, not we coming in with a cape, saving and fixing. Be aware of this. Look at this chessboard. What are you doing? And now it's spilling over into my proximity.
Right.
Not even just the children that's bearing witness. Now I got to bear witness. I'm in my right to call the law, but Spirit said don't do that. Just watch. And that's what I did. So we stay observant and we stay in forgiveness. And even though I may stand in forgiveness, I stand on this. Everybody got to F around to find out how you like them apples. That's working for you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to leave it on that.
Thank
Yes.
you. Powerful. So I want to thank you all for joining me in this really profound conversation. Medea, you're absolutely right. We have to keep going in the conversation, at least opening the space and holding the space for those who are ready to do the work, who want to have the conversations, who want the awareness, who understand that our dynamics, are worthy of being healed, of being repaired. And so I also want to share a couple of events that are coming up as we wrap up with Journey Healing Institute next week. On Wednesday, the 25th, we are having our Black and Indigenous Identities, Women's Spirits and Spiritualities program, certification program. We're having an open house for the program. So it's free to come and learn about the program, talk to some of the students that were in the program last semester, and see if you want to be a part of the spring cohort. The actual class will be starting in March. And then, as Medea mentioned earlier, we're also starting a free book study. And so the book for the month of February is The Spirit of Intimacy. And you can sign up for that as well on our Patreon site, where we are going to, throughout the year, be reading different books on healing and liberation and spirituality written by Black women. And we're going to study these books together, have online live conversations once we finish the book. And so again, February, we're reading Spirit of Intimacy. In March, we'll get together and start discussing the book. And that's the first of 6. And so sign up for our free Soul to Soul book study. And until we meet again, thank you. And you all have a great, great, great weekend.
Gratitude. Much love.